Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into Reddit in Moderation, the podcast where we talk to subreddit moderators to see what they and their community are all about. This week, we are joined by our first guest, a moderator from r/bodybuilding to discuss everything related to bodybuilding. Before we get into the interview, I just wanted to briefly discuss why I, standing at a 135 whopping pounds, soaking wet, thought to discuss bodybuilding this week. Contrary to popular belief, I've actually been working out consistently since freshman year of high school on the wrestling team in 2009. So about 12 years. I got my gym membership sophomore year and even decided to take some failed progress pictures as I attempted to gain weight. The heaviest I have ever weighed was a massive 150 pounds, and that was about 2 years ago while working out at a local gym called Dave Fisher's Powerhouse Gym. I'm actually repping their merchandise right here. Dave's gym was and still is a haven for bodybuilding, and I would not have gotten to my peak weight and fitness strength if I didn't have the advice given to me by Dave and the bodybuilders I interacted with there. The bodybuilding community has only been nice to me. They're always very inclusive. They love to just, talk about, how to get big and like what they've done and just pass on all that advice. So with that being said, I would like to introduce our first guest, 3-year moderator of r/bodybuilding and expert on getting huge, user brazenmaiden, aka Sara Mouton. Thank you for being here, Sara.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Sara. So why don't you just tell me about yourself? Where you're calling from?
I am in Pittsburgh, PA.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's a far distance. We actually had a little bit of a time zone difference we had to work out, if I remember that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how did you get into bodybuilding?
So I was actually a long distance runner first. Um, I started out doing ultramarathons.
You started out doing ultra marathons.
Yes. So I
These are the
started at,
marathons where it's 100 miles, right?
yeah, a marathon is 26 miles, and then ultramarathon is anything longer. And so my goal was to finish a 100.
Wow. Wow. So when did you start doing the ultra marathons then?
2008, I believe it was. And
Wow.
in 2013, I finally finished a 100-mile race, and then I didn't know what to do with myself.
Uh, so you were able to actually finish it. So, I mean, how long does it take to finish an ultra marathon?
100 miles took me 29 and a half hours.
Oh my God. I can barely even run a 5K. This is so embarrassing.
Yeah, it was just it was a slow buildup. I started with 5Ks and just kept going.
So what did you do before the ultra marathons? You were saying that you start with 5Ks. Did you start with anything before that? I'm trying to get to the very beginning here in your fitness journey.
Yeah, no, I did color guard swimming and track in high school, and then I stopped after my sophomore year and didn't do anything fitness until I decided to start running in 2008. And I did couch to 5K and then ran a 5K. And I discovered Dean Karnazes, who is a very famous ultra runner and has written several books. And I read one of his books in which he runs the Western States 100 miler. And I said, I want to do that.
Wow. So you went couch to 5K to ultra marathon.
Yeah, I did a half marathon and then I skipped right to a 50K, which is about 31 miles. And then I think I went to a 50 miler, a 100K, and then just kept attempting hundreds until I finally finished one.
Yeah. So what is the training like for an ultra marathon? Like, what do you do?
You run a lot,
Yeah.
pretty much every day. And then I would do back-to-back long runs on the weekends. So I might run 20 miles on Saturday and 30 miles on Sunday. And
Mhm.
I would sign up for shorter ultras, 50Ks, 100Ks, 50 milers as training runs.
Yeah, and I would imagine, they don't host that many ultra marathons, right? So would you have to travel for the ultra marathons or anything like that?
There is a surprising number if you know where to look.
Hmm.
Um, my first 50K was probably a half hour from my house. And then the 100 miler I did was a couple hours over right in Ohio. I don't think I ever traveled any farther than the Carolinas for a ultra marathon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not so bad. So, I mean, that's a completely different body type, for running ultra marathons. Like you're gonna be like really skinny, super lean, probably what, like 4% body fat at the most.
No, I
Um,
was actually much fatter. I got my first bod pod when I was an ultra runner, and it
really?
came back at, I think it was 22.8%. So I was just skinny
Oh,
fat.
wow. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I guess maybe that would kind of help you for the long distance because your body would have to break down the fat to like mid race, I'm assuming, to actually sustain yourself for running for that long.
Yes, absolutely. I think your body tends to just want to hold more fuel because it knows it's going to need it.
Hmm. So then what was the transition like between ultra marathons to bodybuilding?
So it wasn't even a transition. After I ran my 100, I was just done. I had reached my goal and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I was kind of floundering for a few months. And then somebody that I was friends with on Facebook did their first prep and did a bodybuilding show in bikini. And I went, I could do that. So I joined a gym and started trying to figure out bodybuilding. And a few months later, I hired my first coach and did my first prep and then did my first competition in 2015.
Wow. So, I mean, you just really like jumped into it. Like, I feel like a lot of people will be like, oh, I'll hang out at the gym for a little bit and maybe I'll use the machines, but you're just like, I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to compete. Like, I think maybe why you're so successful is that you just have a goal the entire time. It's not like I'm going to taste this or anything like that. You're like, I want to run this 100 miles or I want to compete, like, do you think that's maybe part of, your success?
Absolutely. I call it my addictive personality. I am all or nothing.
Hmm. Yeah, that is super respectful. Like I wish I had that type of personality traits. So yeah, what division do you compete in? You were mentioning that you mentioning bikini.
Yeah, I started out in bikini and then obviously I didn't have enough muscle and I took 2016 off and then 2017 I was going to do bikini again and I went to see Gary Udit, who is I'm not even sure what his title is. He's very high up in the NPC and
Hmm.
IFBB here. And so I went to see him for some posing and he said, "Oh no, you got too big. You're not bikini anymore."
Oh,
So I moved into figure and now I'm kind of on the brink between figure and physique. So I'm been doing the both.
hmm. So, for a lot of people, they can get confused between the different divisions, especially with women's divisions, because I believe there's something like 8 of them compared to men's, which is like 5. Would you be able to maybe do like a brief rundown on the different divisions or maybe the ones that you're the most familiar with, like, what they're looking for within the competitors and styles and stuff like that, maybe even posing styles?
Sure, absolutely. I am actually an NPC judge, so I'm
Hmm.
quite familiar with all of them.
Oh, sweet.
Um, bikini is the smallest, it's the least muscle, it is the least lean. Um, it is focused on what's supposed to be a very obtainable look.
Hmm.
So it's very focused on delts and glutes, and not so much, quads or a large back. The back actually isn't even judged.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. So they don't do any like back poses or anything like that?
they do a back pose, but most girls will cover their back with their hair, and we tell them not to move
Oh,
it. We don't want to see it because if we can see it, we're going to judge it, and it's probably going to knock you down.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So then next up from there would be wellness, which is a brand new division.
Hmm. Yeah, that must be really new because I've actually never heard of that one. Is that like within the last couple of years or something?
I believe last year was the
Oh,
first
okay.
year that it
Yeah.
was
So very
added.
new then. Okay.
Very. It's been very popular worldwide. It just came to the US, and that's very focused on lower body dominant women. So it's the Brazilian, South American soccer player body type, very big quads, hamstrings, glutes, and an upper body that's not much larger than bikini.
Hmm.
And about the same leanness. It seems to be a little leaner, is what they've been rewarding, but not by much. And then above that is figure, which is known for the V taper, wide shoulders, a very nice V tapered back, small waist, and medium legs and glutes. And that's a little bit leaner than the first two.
Hmm.
And then you move into women's physique, which is much more mass. So you're looking, for delts, they call it the X frame. So you want the big shoulders, the wide back, small waist, but then you want larger legs.
Hmm.
And then women's bodybuilding is that, but even larger and even leaner.
Hmm. Now, for the women's bodybuilding, do they have like weight classes or height classes or anything like that?
Yes. So for all of the divisions, they have height classes, except for women's bodybuilding, which is weight classes.
Hmm.
And then in the pro leagues, there are no classes. It's just everybody against one another.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Which event did you say that you compete in now? Because you said you started in bikini, but now you're competing in something else.
Figure and physique. Yeah.
Figure and physique. Do you think eventually you'll want to get like to like the bodybuilding where the largest physique, or do you think that you kind of fall within your own niche and you just want to excel at that?
Um, I've found that I think I very much enjoy physique. I am not big on wearing heels. I'm a little awkward in them. I like the posing for women's physique better. Um, and I do like to get as lean as I can. I just think it's really cool. So it's nice to not worry about being too lean.
Yeah, definitely. Now, um, I'm not completely familiar with how going pro works in bodybuilding, but I know that there's such thing as a pro card, and I know that that's pretty hard to obtain. In fact, at the gym I went to that I mentioned about Dave Fisher's Powerhouse Gym, they would let people with pro cards work out there for free. Now, so how does the pro card or going pro work in your division?
So it's the same for all divisions within the NPC. You
Mm,
have to compete at a qualifying show, so a local or regional show. Um, and it's usually placed top two in your open class.
mhm,
So they'll have classes like novice, which is for people that have never won, true novice for people who've never competed. Those don't count. It has to be just the open division. And if you right now, because of COVID, they've changed the rules. I think it's like top five right now. Um, but usually it's top two. So if you place in that, you're qualified to go to a national level show. Um, I believe there's 9 national level shows in the US. There might be a couple more now. It kind of changes. And those have their own criteria depending on the show, where it can be top 1 or top 2 in your class. And sometimes it's only a certain number of the overall winners that are awarded their pro card.
mm. So there's a whole process to getting the pro card. It's not just one competition. You have to go through different levels of competition.
Yes, yeah, it's a lot different from a lot of the other federations in that there's levels to it.
Now, how was your personal journey for getting the pro card? Was it easy or were there a lot of challenges along the way?
I have not quite gotten there yet. I just did my second national level show 3.5 weeks ago, and I placed second. And unfortunately, it was one of the shows where only the class winner gets a pro card. So,
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. I would just look at you and assume like, oh, instant pro card or something like that. So even somebody with like a very well, defined physique has struggles. So that makes me feel a little bit better about myself. As terrible as that sounds.
absolutely.
So what do you think maybe are some things that you would need to work on to get you to that pro card level for your
My
next
feedback
competition?
my feedback from the judges was to bring exactly what I brought, that I looked great, but bigger. So I just need more size.
Oh, okay. And so that just kind of takes more time, more eating, and all that stuff. So what do you think as far as competition goes? Like I'd there's probably like three main things: there's eating, exercise, and then there's the posing that goes all into the competition and cutting weight and stuff like that too. There's tons of things, but what do you think like are like the three most important things for like preparing for a competition?
Definitely the diet. You
Yeah.
can't you can't out cardio or hide cheating on your diet.
Hmm.
Um, it will it will catch you. Um, and then beyond that, you got to treat your off season as if it's a prep. You got to lift with intensity and purpose and go to the gym every day as
Hmm.
if you're preparing for that contest. And then on the other side of that is just the mental game. A lot of people will start self-sabotaging. They get in that self-doubt, and if you can't control your emotions and be in total control of um, your mental game, it will break you.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. I think it's for a lot of people, myself included, mental game is actually one of the biggest things because if your mental game is not right, not only are your workouts not gonna be good, but your diet's not gonna be good too. And I think, one of the biggest things for me is why I'm so skinny is not because the hours in the gym, it's just I just cannot eat. I really just it's so hard. It's so hard.
Yes, my husband has the same struggle, and then I'm the opposite. I could eat all day. I would
Oh, really?
be completely overweight if I didn't discipline myself.
So what is your diet like in a day?
So right now I'm reversing out of my show, so my calories are going up. In the morning, it's pretty standard: egg whites, some eggs, spinach, oats, blueberries. Um, I have oats with whey twice a day, and then um, chicken, sweet potatoes, avocado, green beans,
Hmm.
um, egg whites and rice at night. A little bit of almond butter. If and then post workout, I have steak and rice.
Okay. So mostly whole foods. It sounds like you don't do a lot of like supplementation or anything like that. Like you don't take whey protein or isolates.
I do. I have whey protein isolate twice a day in my oats.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of mix it all together.
Yeah. It's just quick and
Yeah.
easy.
Do you count like your calories in, calories out thing, or do you just kind of feel your way through the process?
So I actually have my own coach, and he asked me if I wanted macros or a meal plan, and I said, just tell me what to do. So I don't I don't generally know how many calories I'm eating or what my macros are.
Mhm.
I just do what I'm told. It's a lot easier to not
That's gotta
overthink
be the
that
best way
way.
I think that's why I went wrong actually, because I think I got way too into it. I was just thinking like, okay, I have to have this many calories. I was using MyFitnessPal for like every single meal that I ate. It took a long time, and it's kind of discouraging, because not only have to cook all the meals, but then you have to weigh out like all the calories and stuff like that. So maybe I should have just gone with the meal prep. So I think that's actually a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I can overthink anything. So
Yeah. So as far as working out, like what do you do for your like workouts? Do you like have a workout program designed by your coach too?
yes, he has me on a 5-day split. I have 2 leg days, a back and biceps day, a chest, delts, and tris day, and then a arms and delts day. And then I get to throw in calves and abs 3 times a week wherever I want.
Okay, I mean that sounds like a pretty like standard, workout program. I've seen some really weird workout programs, and maybe I just wanted to ask you about this. There's somebody that told me that it was for like just beneficial to hit legs and biceps in the same day. But I was just like, how could it ever be beneficial to hit legs and biceps in the same? Like, have you ever heard of anything like that?
So I know there's people that are like, oh, squatting and doing legs like increases your GH and stuff, but um, as far as I'm aware, it's not to a level that really is going to affect anything.
Okay, I see. So they're maybe just trying to increase their hormones to like help with other parts of their body. Is that what you're thinking?
That would be my guess,
Hmm.
but if your growth hormone increases, it doesn't matter if you worked biceps today or yesterday, they're still recovering and they're going to grow.
Yeah, I don't know. I still
So,
think that guy was a kook.
yeah, that's overthinking for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever been like injured while working out and had to recover from anything?
Thankfully nothing major, but I have scoliosis, so I struggle a lot with like minor imbalances, back
Mhm.
pain, hip pain. Squatting is definitely my weakest movement. I tend to have a lateral shift.
Ah.
So I have to be very careful with a lot of heavier compound movements.
Hmm. Now, do you think that do you have to do anything, in your routines for like posing to kind of hide that you have scoliosis? Like, do judges look for curvature in the spine or anything like that?
So it's not that they look for it, but they will notice it. I think that's one of the reasons that I do better in physique than figure.
Hmm.
Um, Figure only has quarter turns, so you face front, side, back, other side, back to the front, um, which really shows all of your imbalances. Whereas physique, you get to do a front double bi and a back double bi and ab and thigh, and you can tweak your poses and they don't have to be perfectly symmetrical. So I can hide the imbalances and the scoliosis a lot more with that posing.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how much like how do you like divide your time? Like, how much time do you think that you spend like eating slash meal prep versus like going to the gym and or like working on posing or I don't know if you like do like research into supplements or anything like that, like doing research. So how do you divide your time throughout the day?
Um, wow. My entire day, I would say, almost completely falls into bodybuilding of some
Hmm.
sort.
Yeah.
Um, My husband is also a competitor, so that's 12 meals a day that I weigh out. He works from home, but his job is quite demanding. So,
Mm.
like every 2.5, 3 hours, I'm making two meals and taking one down to him. And then I have my clients, some, you know, writing, programming, researching, doing stuff for them. Probably the first 2 or 3 hours of my day most days. And then I'm also in school, so I probably spend, a couple hours every few days working on school research and projects.
Hmm.
And then I spend about 2 hours in the gym lifting 5 days a week. Right now I'm on 30 minutes of cardio 3 times a week. I try to if I'm on prep, I pose every day, 10, 15, 20 minutes. If in the off season, I try to do it at least 3 or 4 times a week. But I also have posing clients, so I spend time posing with them as well. Um, yeah, I feel like most of my waking hours revolve around
Yeah, I mean
bodybuilding.
that's pretty crazy. Like, do you do you even have time to sleep?
Really, no, between working for a tanning company for shows and judging shows and having clients, it's absolutely not unheard of for me to just go straight through for a few days straight.
Really? Wow. Because I would imagine, if part of the recovery process is, sleeping and getting enough sleep. So I mean, you're really working your body to the limits, then that's really insane.
Yeah, absolutely. When I get downtime, I definitely can sleep for like a full day straight.
Yeah. And so you say that you work with clients as a trainer and as well as you create programs for them and everything. Do you train other bodybuilders or do you train just regular gym goers, people trying to get into shape?
I have clients of all kinds. I have heavily overweight clients that are looking to get down to normal weight and be healthy. I have competitors. I have people that want to look like competitors. I have power lifters. Um, and I have like a client right now that is a police officer that's looking to pass the sweat test.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like you're really working with everybody. So I do want to touch on something. So I noticed obviously you're a female, and bodybuilding is a male-dominated industry for the most part. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you feel like your experience is different, like being a female? Like, do you feel like there's any like stigma that you face, or and any backlash that you get? And then if so, like how do you deal with it?
Oh, absolutely. That's actually how I became a moderator. Um, our bodybuilding used to be a much rougher place to be a woman. And so I was asked to become a moderator and do like a weekly thread focused on women. Um, and that's kind of fallen by the wayside now, but it kind of transformed into me making sure that any post by a woman didn't get all of the sexual comments and harassment that was so common, cleaning those up and warning people like not to do that. Um, and it's actually, I've been very proud our bodybuilding has become a much friendlier place for women in the last couple years.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I feel like I did, used to see like I've subscribed to the page for maybe like 7 years or 8 years, and I feel like I did used to see a lot of like misogynistic comments and stuff like that. And I really don't really feel like I see it too often anymore. So I think maybe you being involved in the community has actually had, a significant impact.
Yeah, I see it a lot now where a negative or harassing or sexual comment gets downvoted to oblivion and people will just pile on and be like, what is wrong with you?
Hmm.
And that makes me so happy to see because I go in and I delete those comments, but I probably don't even really need to.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So do you feel like now you're starting to get like more positive attention, like in the, by being a female bodybuilder, like, if you go to competitions, maybe like people are more supportive. Like, do you feel like it's changed, recently over the past couple of years?
At competitions, it has always been positive. I feel like anybody that competes respects other people that compete, especially if
Hmm.
they do it seriously. It's more the world at large that doesn't understand, that thinks that women should be small and not take up space,
Yeah.
and that muscles are manly, or um, anybody that might take steroids or anything like that is probably crazy and like some kind of horrible person that's beating their spouse. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions about bodybuilding in general, let alone being a woman that does it.
Hmm. Now, do you feel like you get a lot of attention, both, positive or negative, just for having muscles? Like when you walk into a room or you go to the grocery store, like do people notice and like stare at you a little bit or anything like that?
Absolutely. It's a lot worse like right now when I'm, in contest shape and pretty shredded. I laugh because most of my tanning crew is competitors, and we'll be driving to shows. We'll stop at a rest station along the turnpike or something. And as soon as we get out of a car, it's like the parting of the Red Sea because, there's two, three, four large women walking through, and people just, they move out of our way like we're going to hurt them.
I mean, that's gonna be a pretty sick sight to behold, not gonna lie. That's
It's
awesome.
somewhat entertaining, but it's also gets old because I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would never hurt anybody. Like, I'm so nice, and
yeah.
people just,
Yeah,
they don't see it.
when I was at the bodybuilding gym that I used to train at, there was a female bodybuilder there. I only know her first name is Mary, and her whole thing was she was a mother of 5 children, and she was maybe like 40s, early 50s, and she was just ripped. Like she was really intimidating looking, but if you ever talked to her, she was just like the nicest person, like hey, do you need a spot or anything like that? Like I'm right here. And so I've always just been very just in admiration of not only bodybuilders, but I think female bodybuilders.
Yes, for sure. I love my bodybuilding family. I've never experienced more kindness and warmth than I have in this community.
Yeah. So who do you think, like, speaking of like bodybuilders, like who do you think has been like a big influence on you in your bodybuilding career? It doesn't have to be a bodybuilder, but if you know any bodybuilders that influenced you.
Oh, absolutely. I would say first off, Emily Schubert. She's a women's physique pro. She's actually going to be at the Olympia for the first time this year.
Oh, nice.
Um, so when I first did figure in 2017, she was in my class. We stepped on stage together. I believe we placed one spot apart, and we ended up signing up with the same coach that after that show. Um, so we were pretty close for a while, and I watched her go from amateur to pro to winning a pro show and going to the Olympia this year. So she really made me believe, like, oh yeah, this is totally possible.
Hmm. Um, Let me see. So you mentioned the Olympia and how she's going to be competing in the Olympia. Are there any like qualifying Olympians that you're following this year? I think it's coming up in October, right?
Yes, it should be, I think, 6 weeks away or something now. It's coming up
Hmm.
very quickly. Um, I follow pretty much all of the figure and women's physique pros that are going in. Um, I believe my coach has two or three female bodybuilders and one or two fitness pros, maybe a few physique women that are all going in. Um, so I follow probably most of the women, and then a few of the bigger name men, Ian Valliere and Chris Bumstead, and the popular men.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I that's pretty crazy that you're training under somebody that's training like all these Olympians. Like if anybody's gonna get you to the Olympia, like it'd be that person. Do you have goals of maybe competing in the Olympia one day?
Um, if I ever thought I could get there, I would try.
Hmm.
Right now, I think with scoliosis and my structure, that's probably never in the cards for me.
Hmm.
My goal right now would be to get that pro card, and then Rich Siegelman, who's a IFBB pro, and now he MCs a lot of shows, and he's also an actor out there in Hollywood. Um, he has a Masters Pro show in Maryland,
Hmm.
and so I think that would be my first one because he's become a good friend and very supportive of all my bodybuilding endeavors. So that would be my first pro show, I think.
Nice, nice. So of the males, I think people are probably looking at um, I think for the men's bodybuilding, probably Brandon Curry, Phil Heath, and Big Ramy. I believe Big Ramy won last year. Have you been following them? Like, do you think, do you have like a speculation as to who might win this year?
I don't, I think, I do think Phil's reign is probably over.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, he won like 7 times,
yes, he's had a very good run,
Yeah.
but I do think that the judging seems to be moving in new directions. And the younger blood that's coming in is amazing. Um, but I just don't feel like I have as good of a grasp on like men's bodybuilding, especially the open. Um, that's just like a little out of my depth. I've
Hmm.
never even coached a male bodybuilder. So
Hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah. But you were saying, the judging is shifting. What do you mean by that? Like, what are they looking for now?
I see it in all the divisions. This is just a sport that evolves. Bikini had much, much less muscle when it came in a few years ago, and it was nowhere near as lean. Um, Now the women have capped delts. Um, they have glutes that I'm like, how did you even get that?
Yeah, I've seen that too.
And they come in so lean. Like when you're sitting at the judges table and you can see so much, I've noticed that they'll smile and I can see jaw striations, and they're
Hmm.
trying to pose very carefully and gently so that you don't see their glute striations. And I'm like, and this is the least lean category.
Mm.
Like it. it changed so much. And it's the same with figure. Women's bodybuilding, was removed from the NPC and IFBB for a couple years. And it seemed like physique moved up and filled that gap. And then figure just followed right behind physique and got bigger as well. Um, and then it got leaner and harder and drier. And, it's people complain it's kind of crossing boundaries. And I somewhat agree that the lines keep getting blurred, but
Yeah.
I think that comes with the territory of competitors are always pushing the boundary. How far can I take my size? How far can I take my shape? How far can I
Mhm.
take lean, hard, dry?
Yeah.
And if we as judges reward that, of course, it's going to continue to happen.
Mhm. Now you're saying that the competition is getting leaner, but do you think that the like amount of mass is also getting smaller too, or do you think that judges still want just, as much mass within that category, but a leaner type?
I would say that bikini has gotten somewhat smaller since wellness came in.
Hmm.
But all of the other categories have continued to grow.
Mm.
Um, at least for women, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for men. I see it with men's physique that um, guys can cross over between men's physique, classic physique, and bodybuilding
Hmm.
because the upper body is just mass all the way
Yeah, yeah.
across.
Hmm.
Um, so that's been pretty crazy. I would really like to see more division between the divisions,
Hmm.
and very obvious differences.
Okay. Well, you're making me sound I feel like more motivated to bodybuild now because apparently I have a very lean physique, so maybe I actually I have a chance. I just have to put on some more mass.
Absolutely.
Um, let me see what else here. So we talked about you. Yeah, your time and your schedule is really packed and everything, but you still make the time to be a moderator. So like how much time do you spend like moderating the bodybuilding community on Reddit?
I try to pop in once or twice a day and just go through new posts and um, clean everything up. And then if I'm doing cardio or if I'm in the car and my husband's driving, that's usually a great opportunity to actually go through posts and read comments and
Hmm.
clean those up. So it's usually just anytime I have a little break or whatever, I'll pop in. But like my end of my prep and then my husband competed this past weekend. So I moderated a lot less the past few weeks.
Hmm.
It's
Now,
just a balance.
you basically your job as a moderator is to clean up the posts and the comments. Do you feel like you've had to do more or less work like as you've been there? Do you think it's getting cleaner so you don't really have to work as hard, or what would you say about that?
No, our bodybuilding has reached the front page enough times, and bodybuilding is becoming more popular. So
Hmm.
we're growing quickly, and people don't know that the community isn't the same as our fitness or our weight room or any of the other subs. So I clean up a lot more general transformation, general fitness, not competitive sportive bodybuilding posts
Hmm.
than I ever had to before. Um, but thankfully, it's become kind of a more friendly community. So I feel like I clean up a lot less toxic
Oh,
posts.
okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I noticed that just reading the FAQ, it's just like this is, specifically for bodybuilding. Like if you want to like learn how to lose weight and stuff, like you go to lose it. So I think you guys make it pretty transparent, but I can see so a lot of people like getting confused and just like posting in the subreddit and stuff like that.
Yeah, they just find it and they don't take the time to read the FAQ.
Mhm.
And I've we've talked about having maybe like a time limit on having to be a member for so long before you post, but
Oh, that's smart.
we've never actually implemented that. And I think that's kind of the problem is people find it and they immediately go, oh, perfect. I'll post my
Hmm.
question here.
Yeah. So how did you become a moderator? Like I know that you said you wanted to like clean up the community and stuff, but like did you get asked to become a moderator or did you like talk to another moderator and say like, hey, this is what I kind of want to do within the community? So how did that actually happen?
So one of the other moderators, DDDDD John,
Mm.
better known as Goob in the sub.
Okay.
Um, he's a very good friend of ours. We were actually roommates for a while. My husband and him are business partners.
Oh, nice.
So John and I are very, very familiar. And when he was like, we need more of a female presence here, he was like, what do you think, Sarah? You up for it? And I was like, sure.
Hmm.
And here we are.
Nice, nice. Well, it's kind of cool that you like actually know some of the other like moderators. Do you know any of the other moderators in person, or is it just that one?
Yeah, actually, DZ, I think his username is like DEEZ 3001 or something.
Hmm.
Um, we've actually gone and lifted together. He's local to me.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I'm in like I have some of the other moderators on like Snapchat and Instagram and we talk. So for the most part, we're all pretty friendly outside of Reddit as well.
Nice, nice. Cool that you are like really like involved in the community on like a personal basis too. I think that's actually really cool. I feel like as I, talk to other, communities, I'm gonna find out that they probably had never interact with each other. So I think it's cool that you guys are able to actually interact with each other.
Yeah, the bodybuilding community is just like that. Pylon that just posted his show uh, update post. I go to the same gym as him sometimes, so we've met several times. I was working the show that he was at, which is also the one my husband did, so they got to meet. Um, and then so I've met several people off the sub. We plan if we're going to be at the Arnold or the Olympia, or if I'm going to a gym out of town, we plan meetups, and so it's been really good for expanding my friendships.
Hmm. So what type of content do you like to see the most on our bodybuilding, and what type of content do you like dislike seeing the most?
I love seeing people's preps. I really like to see people talk about their protocols, everything from diet and training to steroid usage. I like to see people be very open about what they do and use, and um, I really encourage people to share pictures because it's hard to know who you're getting advice from,
Mm.
and you don't want to take advice from somebody that you don't want to look like. Or
Like me right here.
well, I mean, I'm sure that you know plenty as a nurse,
Mhm.
but you probably can't tell me how to peak for my next pro attempt.
No,
Like
no, I can tell you how to put an IV in though. I can tell you how to do that.
I might need that after.
Yeah, that's right. You get hydrated.
Yeah, so I love to see really informative posts and open posts, and the ones that annoy me are really the ones that are just self-congratulatory. There are quite a few people that they just want to promote their
Yeah,
YouTube. They want to become a coach. They
yeah.
want to be the next Instagram, you know, whatever. But I'm like, you'll get that by being honest and open and part of the community.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think it's like the number one rule in your community is just like no self-promotion. Just people don't want to read the rules. And as a moderator, that's gotta be like super frustrating.
Yeah, it's more frustrating for me because I was like a pseudo mod, because I was just supposed to help be more of a female presence and just
Hmm.
kind of clean things up. So I don't have band powers.
Hmm.
So I
Oh,
have
so
to
you really couldn't do anything about it then.
yeah,
Oh.
I have to go talk to the other mods and be like, this person's being mean. Can we ban them?
Oh, that's hilarious. On a more serious note, like you mentioned steroids, and I just want to preface this with saying I'm actually pro steroids as long as like people are honest about it. I just don't like people that are, like fake natties and stuff like that because it's just so obvious. It's just so obvious, and they're just lying, and they all these people that follow them, maybe they don't know it, and then they think that they can get to where they're at, without, performance enhancing drugs. So I'm for it as long as people are honest about it. So I was wondering what your thoughts on performance enhancing drugs are.
Absolutely. If you are going to do this at a high competitive level, um, it's just a necessary evil.
Hmm.
Um, if you think that you're going to go pro in anything except maybe bikini, and even that's questionable,
Hmm.
um, you are going to have to take performance enhancing drugs. You're probably going to have to take anabolic steroids, metabolic stimulants. You might have to take things like T3 and T4. It's it is what it is now with how large and lean every division has
Yeah.
gotten. Um, I just very much encourage people to do their research. Don't just do it because a coach said so.
Hmm.
Know what you're taking. Be aware of the consequences and get your blood work and know your health markers before, during, and after, and be
Hmm.
aware of what they mean.
Yeah, I think those are really good points. It really can be dangerous. You're almost doing a science experiment on your body. All your lab work gets crazy, and it starts affecting other muscles, like such as your heart. Like a lot of people don't understand that people get cardiomegaly, so their heart actually enlarges to accommodate for all the muscle and everything, and you can actually die from that. You can go into heart failure, and that happens to some bodybuilders too. There was I think it was Rich Piana. I'm not sure if it was technically a bodybuilder or not, but he was at least like an influence within the bodybuilding like community, and he recently died. They said that they found like some performance enhancing drugs and maybe even cocaine and stuff like that, so it can be like very
Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah. Rich was very open about his use
Hmm.
for many, many years. And then recently we've lost John Meadows.
Hmm.
And I also lost a friend July 31st, Sophia Graham. She had just placed top 5 at Universe. She was only 25
Wow.
and she passed in her sleep. And I do not know the cause of death, but I'm assuming that the steps that we have to take as competitors did not help with whatever underlying condition caused that.
Wow.
Um, and then just this past weekend, the community lost Elena Casanova just before the Spain Pro, the Europa. Um, and we still don't know the cause of death on that one
Mhm.
either, but it's usually obvious to us that there it had to be a contributing factor.
Yeah.
Um, People just need to recognize, like, if you are buying performance enhancing drugs off the internet with Bitcoin, this is brewed in somebody's kitchen with powders, probably imported from China,
Yeah.
um, mixed with some oils in their kitchen, and if you and it may or may not be filtered. You need to be aware that sources get in a rush and may not filter things, then you're looking at infection. Be aware
Hmm.
that oral drugs are liver toxic and things like clenbuterol are heart damaging. Um, so you have to be very aware of the consequences of what you're doing and sure that that risk is worth taking.
Yeah, I think that those are all really good points. So I think maybe we should get to a lighter subject now.
Sure.
So I wanted to maybe go over some of the posts from our bodybuilding. And I noticed that when I looked at the top posts of all time, 4 out of 5 of them are from the Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, he's obviously a major influence within the bodybuilding community. But I was wondering, maybe does he mean anything to you personally? Like, what do you think about Arnold Schwarzenegger and his involvement in the community?
I think Arnold made bodybuilding what it is today.
Hmm.
I don't think that we would have the notoriety, popularity, and visibility that we do if it wasn't for him. Not only did he bring it to the forefront as he became an actor and a very famous one,
Hmm.
but he puts on the Arnold Sports Festivals.
Yeah,
He's still very much involved. He's on Reddit as you Gov Schwarzenegger.
yeah, that's what it was. I didn't want to butcher his name, but that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he pops in, he'll sometimes people tag him and he'll pop in and give a response. And I'm like, okay, he's the governor and he's still lifting and he's doing all this stuff, but he'll still come in and talk to some bodybuilders.
Yeah, he's killing it. He just seems like such a good, genuine guy. And I loved Pumping Iron too. That was such a classic movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you when you think bodybuilding, you think Arnold.
Mhm. Do you have any like posts, specifically that you remember within r/bodybuilding, like that you remember fondly or anything like that?
Uh, Honestly, I would say probably some Dana Lynn Bailey ones way back when I first started,
Hmm.
back when she was winning the Olympia, um, before I knew that wasn't just naturally possible. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'll look like that.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to actually show you when I was going through the subreddit, two posts that really popped out to me, two of my favorite posts here. So let me actually just share my screen real quick. Show the sound. Okay, can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So this right here is probably my favorite. This is Ronnie Coleman, and can you hear it? It's a compilation of him screaming. I'm just gonna let this roll for about 10 seconds. Oh, I'm telling you. That's a good one to end it on. I don't know. Something about Ronnie Coleman just always gets me hyped up. I can listen to him while I'm working out, just him just going lightweight, and I'll just get so hyped, and I'll lift heavier weights. And oh man.
Absolutely. If you've never screamed "ain't nothing but a peanut" before your lifts, you're not a
Yeah,
real bodybuilder.
that's true. That's true. And then one other post here on a more serious note, and I think is really cool, and I think this really highlights the power of not only Reddit but your specific subreddit r/bodybuilding. Now you've been moderating for 3 years, so I'm not sure if you went back in time and saw this because this is a post from 6 years ago. Hopefully you can see on my screen, and this is a post by user Courser. And basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's here if you want to read it. But his brother was autistic, and he was also diagnosed with a fatal form of cancer. And so, what he wanted to do with his brother, because his brother was such a big fan of bodybuilding, he wanted to see if he could get in touch with the champion himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so he wasn't able to get to him directly through email, but through the power of Reddit and r/bodybuilding, you guys helped him create, I think it was a hashtag. It was the hashtag Help Todd movement. And you guys were able to get it, so loud that Governor Schwarzenegger saw it and actually responded. And actually, I believe he video called him, and he did all this nice stuff for his brother that he really just would not have been able to do without you guys. And I think that's amazing.
Yes, I am familiar with this post. I believe if you dig, there's actually a follow-up to this with like some pictures of the brother with the package that he got from Arnold and um like like an additional update to how it all actually happened. And this pops back up like probably at least once a year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was such a cool story. He did mention here that he was saying that to the moderators he sends out a care package. Now, did you ever receive a care package?
No, but as you've noted, this was before I became a moderator.
Yeah. Do you happen to know if your friend, I think you said his name was John or something like that. Did he ever receive anything?
I don't think he became a moderator much before I did. The old guard is kind of no longer around.
Mhm.
Several of them, I don't know what happened. Their accounts have just been inactive for a long time. And then we did lose one about a year and a half ago. Um, so a lot of the moderators that are in place now are all from around the time that I became a moderator.
Oh, so a little bit of turnover. So what about the person who originally created the community? Do you know if he's still around?
No, that's a conversation that we've had as moderators is there's like a hierarchy. And so like the original creator and then the mods that they brought in. And so the newer mod you are, you can't do anything to the mods that were before you. So we have these accounts that could just one day be stolen or reactivate and come in and just like delete the community or like
Oh,
take the rest of us off as mods. And we have no way to stop that or get rid of them because of that seniority hierarchy that Reddit put in place.
wow. That's crazy. I mean, do you feel like there's potential for that to happen, or do you feel like the community is like pretty stable and the moderators are pretty stable?
I think we're pretty stable, but like I worry because as I said, we did have one moderator that passed away that was more senior than most of us.
Mhm.
And his account's still listed as a moderator. So if somebody was able to hack his account, there's nothing we could do.
Oh, that's true. That is kind of like a security issue there waiting
Yeah.
to happen.
Yeah. So it's a concern, but hopefully nobody will do that to us.
Mhm. Okay, well, I think, it's been about an hour, close to, 45 minutes to an hour. So I want to again thank you so much for being here today. It's such a wonderful experience. And I just really loved having this conversation with you. Is there any like thing that you wanted to add? Any shout outs?
Thank you to you for having me.
Mhm.
And, thank you to the other mods, Jim Bull and Fiona and DZ and Troy. I'm just so happy to be part of such a wonderful community that brings me opportunities to do things like this.
Okay, well, great. Well, again, thank you so much for having me. We'll talk later, and if you want to like post your training page or anything like that, we can work that out. But yeah, I'm just so excited about how well this interview went. So yeah, thank you.
Me too. I'm looking forward to hearing more in the future.
Okay, well, you have a good one. Okay, bye.
You too. Good night.